Welcome back to Zandvoort and the Ginetta Junior Championship away weekend to the Netherlands. The third of the three races here at Circuit Zandvoort comes up next for the 2026 Ginetta Junior Championship, powered by Sunoco Race Fuels, and the 16th round of the 2026 season. After a highly entertaining race this morning, which saw the fourth closest finish ever in the Ginetta Junior Championship. Big thank you to Simon Pace of Ginetta for the stat. And that just shows you how close the championship really is, doesn't it? A race winning margin that is 22 thousandths of a second, but still, there were three races which had closer finishes. Alton Park last year and a couple of Silverstone National races as well in 2019 and 2021 had closer finishes than what we had earlier. I guess the big story was the fact that Harrison Mackie managed to outdrag Riley Cranham and take that race win, a third victory of the season, which I believe propels him up into second position in the championship standings unofficially, although the best part of 80 points behind the runaway championship leader, as it's really becoming, Lewis Goff, the man that's been on the top step of the podium 7 times in this season. But looking back to that race this morning, John, it really excites us, I think, for our final race of the weekend.
That it does. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Ginetta Junior Championship coverage from Zandvoort. And yes, excitement is an understatement based on what we've seen so far this weekend, but it hasn't been surprising because you do often see races like this in the Ginetta Junior Championship. I wonder if we'll see an expansive chasm of a gap like 1/10 of a second that we saw in the first race, or whether we'll see 1/100th of a second, which is closer to what we saw in that second race. I mean, it's just been superb. And I have to say, the finish of that second race took us both by surprise a little bit, didn't it? Because we had a couple of cars off circuit after an incident in turn 9, and they actually brought out the checkered flag a lap earlier than expected. So what we thought was going to be a last lap shootout between the top 3 turned into a last straight dash to the finish line for the top 3. And it was, of course, Harrison Mackie in the bright yellow Elite Motorsport car who took the victory just from Lewis Goff and his teammate as well. So it was fantastically close, that previous race, as you alluded to, and hopefully more of the same. I say it was Goff, of course. It was Goff third, and Cranham, as you mentioned, taking P2. Riley Cranham did get up to something in that race as well that we didn't see, because he's actually received a 5-place grid drop for this third race for causing a collision. I don't remember what collision that was from Riley Cranham, so please do correct me if you remember, Joshua, if we just maybe didn't see that. But either way, what that means is Riley Cranham, instead of starting on the front row like we expected, he will be starting from P7 in this one. But what's been proven throughout the weekend, you don't have to be starting in the top 2 or 3 or even 4 to be able to win a race in Ginetta Juniors. We saw Harrison Mackie come through from further back in the field in the previous race, and Riley Cranham has shown his overtaking and pace credentials throughout both races here this weekend. So expect Cranham to still mount a challenge for this race win.
Yes, I can't recall the moment either that may have got him that penalty, but a lot happened in race 2 of the weekend here at Zandvoort. He's not the only one who have received a penalty. It hasn't really affected, I don't think, the results of race 2, but the grid for this race. So the penalty for Riley Cranham, there's a penalty for Max Murray for this grid as well. So a few incidents in that earlier race. There's a few cars that have had to be worked upon over the break with Daniel Oliver's Elite Motorsport car, Josh Watts' Performance 1 car, and Vicky Farfus in the Paradigm competition machine not having made it to the end with damage from some incidents. But the Zandvoort circuit, when we've got these close Ginetta battles, have sort of brought something up I don't think we've seen at many other venues, where there are so many different lines and the defensive line compromises your speed so much. So drivers who are able to stay on the racing line can go so much quicker through corners, John, and particularly we've seen drivers just drive clean around the outside of people, which perhaps we wouldn't have seen at other circuits.
Yeah, this track definitely encourages those sort of moments, especially down at turn 8, Mastersbocht. We've seen a few of those instances, and obviously Lewis Goff taking 2 places in that first race to end up winning the race, of course, because he passed those 2 cars on that opening lap through Mastersbocht. But at the end of the day, you can't really suggest that the leader doesn't defend the inside, because if you leave a gap, you know that P2 is going to go through. The problem is, all of that happens, it's actually the third place car that's probably going to end up passing both. So if you're the leader in that situation, you're sort of stuck in the middle a little bit, aren't you? You have to defend to some degree, or else you're gonna leave room for someone to send it. But the person in third is always going to get that run and carry that momentum. So it just encourages racing that is just non-stop action and brilliant to watch, because essentially what I'm saying is you don't necessarily want to be the leader at all times during this race unless you can break away from the slipstream. But what we've seen so far doesn't matter if you're Lewis Goff and you're clearly the, let's say, the star of the show for the season as a whole. Even if you're Lewis Goff, you cannot break away from the pack in this race because there are too many quick drivers and there are too many sensible and smart heads on young shoulders who know how to work together to close in that gap using the slipstream, bumping each other along and working as a pair or a bigger group, of course, as well. So it's difficult to break away. It just means that we should see more of the same for race 3.
Yeah, that's right. Even in the earlier race when it was Riley Cranham, wasn't it? Had over a second lead. The others were able to draw back towards him. Even a 1 second margin isn't a large enough gap to say you broke away around here at Zandvoort. It's quite windy this weekend, being here on the coast at Zandvoort Circuit, and that means the slipstream is even more effective than perhaps it would be ordinarily. We're into the second half of the 2026 Ginetta Junior Championship. We've only 3 events, 9 races to go after this weekend. So really getting into the business end of the season, returning to support the British GT Championship next month at Snetterton before heading to the Grand Prix circuits at Donington Park and Brands Hatch to conclude the year. But there we can see on pole position after scoring that 3rd win this morning, Harrison Mackie, the Elite Motorsport driver, the 16-year-old from Norfolk, just down the road actually from Elite's base. And Harrison's been karting since the age of 7. He's a former karting champion, as so many drivers on this grid are. There are rewards for the freshman division for those who didn't compete in high-level karting or perhaps haven't done any karting at all. There are 1 or 2 drivers that have come into Ginetta Juniors fresh, perhaps out of sim racing, but which is, I guess, a new way you can get involved in motorsport now. You don't have to go through the karting route, much more affordable way to learn your craft on the sim.
Yeah, and we've seen Ginetta very keen to get their cars into plenty of video games as well, and of course more serious, hardcore, authentic sim racing titles in the past. So Ginetta are obviously committing to that side of things as well, and of course our young drivers nowadays will be growing up with sim racing in mind. Well, lots of them will have a steering wheel and pedal set up in the room, which is more realistic than it ever used to be at this moment as well. Things are really moving forward in that sense. So you do see a lot of sim racers and karters, as our very happy-looking Marshall waves away the group with 30 seconds to go until we start our formation lap here. Just to reiterate in terms of the championship battle as well, it's been such a good weekend for Lewis Goff. His biggest rivals, Harry Bartle and Jesse Phillips, haven't had the best weekends. Bartle spinning out of race 2, of course, following a podium in race 1, and it's actually Harrison Mackie who's made the biggest moves forward, and he is possibly now Lewis Goff's biggest challenger.
Let's have a look, if we can, at the grid for round 16 of the Ginetta Junior Championship powered by Sunoco Race Fuels. It's Harrison Mackie on pole after winning the earlier race. Lewis Goff starts alongside. Jacob Ashcroft and Melvin Kalustian are on row 2, with Jesse Phillips and Henry Cameron on row 3. The penalised Riley Cranham, podium finisher earlier, starts 7th alongside the Dutch racer Devin Hargelen, who begins the race in 8th. Harry Bartle is 9th alongside Sebastian Lusch, with Bailey Doherty and Noah Young on row 6. Ian Daniskia and Addison Smith come up next on row 7. And Vlad Tomanchuk and Dominic Darling start this race on row 8. Ethan Brass and Andrew Robinson on row 9. Samuel Del Gaudio and Anescu Mapamulo complete the top 20. And drivers who were in strife earlier, Daniel Oliver and Josh Watts, start on row 11, with Vicky Farfus and Max Murray on the 12th row of the grid. 24 teenagers making the trip across to Zandvoort. So much commitment actually has to be put in, doesn't it, to race at this level, because all of these drivers are school children, basically. Some even aren't even sort of at end of their GCSEs, are they, let alone at A-level. But so the amount of commitment you have to put into your sport to be able to compete at such a high level in the Ginetta Junior Championship in the most competitive junior category there is, and particularly over the last year or two, John, what we've seen is an international flavour coming into this as well, particularly with the links now to SRO, who assist to run the Ginetta Championship. That's put, I think, an even bigger focus on this championship, bringing the top level drivers of this age.
Yeah, it's an away round for all of the British folk who are spending most of the season racing at home, but will now get to experience different culture, racing at a different venue with a different language, and all of the challenges and I guess good cultural experiences that come with that. And Zandvoort is a great place to go as well. The Dutch are very accommodating for your racing fraternity. But as you say, it's a very international field. So plenty of these drivers will have done lots of traveling, will be spending lots of time in a country they're less familiar with anyway. And of course, we do have 24 teenagers here, yes, but so many of these teenagers will go on to become megastars in the future. So you will be looking at plenty of drivers in this field who will go on to have fantastic and successful motorsport careers at the highest level. The likes of Lando Norris came through this series, Isaac Hadjar came through this series, and so many top sports car and endurance racing drivers as well. So basically look at any championship across the globe at the high level, and you will find a driver that has spent some time learning their craft in the Ginetta Junior Championship. And Harrison Mackie, one of those, takes us to the grid for this third and final race. We've seen pretty even starts in general off the line, only a couple of drivers making poor starts over the course of things. But I think Lewis Goff sitting there in P2 will be very happy to be starting where he is. Ashcroft's been offensive on the early laps, as has Kaluzdian. We've seen Kaluzdian slot that Ginetta with the Red Bull livery, currently starting in fourth, down the inside of just about anyone he can manage. So watch out for that second row on the opening lap. Those two have been particularly racy.
For the final time this weekend at Zandvoort, we're getting ready to go racing. It's round 16 of the Ginetta Junior Championship, powered by Sunoco Race Fuels. 20 minutes on the race clock. Once more, the earlier two races have been 9 laps apiece, but there is a potential for a 10-lap race out of this. We should get a green flag at the back, which happens now, a little bit delayed, and then the red lights will come on, and 20 minutes for round 16 of the championship will get underway now as the cars accelerate up towards Tarzan. A defensive move taken by Harrison Mackie, but that was sort of a more normal start in Ginetta Juniors, where everyone gets away at exactly the same speed, seemingly, and they turn in then line astern with Harrison Mackie leading the way from Lewis Goff. Jacob Ashcroft is third, ahead of Melvin Kalustyan in fourth. Then two more elite cars. That's Jesse Phillips and Henry Cameron, I believe, in sixth position, ahead of Riley Cranham, who is someone we really should watch out for in these opening laps. He's had great pace here at Zandvoort. He hasn't had all of the luck. He's had some penalties. He just missed out on that race one win, but Riley Cranham will be looking to move through the field. But the slipstreaming begins now, John, as they head up through 4, 5 and 6.
It certainly does, and Henry Cameron in one of the Elite Motorsport cars has gotten past Jesse Phillips as well for P5, so a good start for the two yellow Elite cars. There are 4 of them, in fact, in the top 6, and look how close Goff is on the back of our race leader. And this is where we're going to have to pay attention. Will he go defensive, Harrison Mackie, on the inside here into Master's Box? No, he takes the sensible approach, it has to be said. Goff could, of course, send it down the inside now in towards turn 9 and does so. So Goff looks to the inside. Meanwhile, Ashcroft under pressure as well from Kaluzdian heading into that turn 9 section. But it's Goff who has taken the lead. So a successful move down the inside of Mackie. Ashcroft in third and Kaluzdian holds on to fourth. Kaluzdian on that opening corner, by the way, discovering the outside of the circuit for the first time this weekend. I think the pit wall was missing him.
So down out of 10 they go, up towards the S-bend, 11 and 12, and right in the wheel tracks of Lewis Goff then is the race 2 winner, Harrison Mackie. Is he going to attack just like Lewis Goff did a couple of bends ago, or is he going to try and work with Lewis Goff? Not teammates, of course. Here we've got R Racing versus Elite Motorsport in several of the first few positions. Those two powerhouse teams in the championship have won so many of the championships in recent years. One of the cars running out wide over the grass was losing positions there, but got back on safely as the cars complete the first lap through the banked corner. A unique part of the season there, really, for a flat-out banked corner now that Rockingham, of course, no longer in use. But the top 4 broke away from Jesse Phillips trying to fight back ahead of his teammate Henry Cameron. It's Devon Hagelin, in fact, apologies. So Devon Hagelin has made really good progress from further back on the grid. He goes ahead of Henry Cameron up into 5th position. So he passed not just Cameron, but Jesse Phillips on that lap.
Yeah, great stuff from the local driver, Devon Hagelin. I hadn't even called him, but I thought it was Henry Cameron that was making all the progress, but both of them moving through, which is great to see. Bartle also up to P8 on that opening lap, ahead of Cranham, who's got more work to do now. I was thinking he was going to move forward. He's actually moved backwards, so now there's 8 Ginetta Juniors for Riley Cranham to try and get ahead of, but there's still plenty of time here, 17 minutes to go in this one. A little bit of a breakaway now for the front 4, so you've got Goff and Mackie, who have been basically inseparable, it has to be said, this weekend following the first half of that first race. And then Ashcroft and Kaluzdian just trying to hang on to the coattails here of the 46 car. And then meanwhile, there's a move just behind there, so that's for P6. It looks like one of the elite cars being shuffled wide, and I think that might be Jesse Phillips coming through then. Bartle looking to also take advantage, passing Henry Cameron, so we'll see how it all unfolds as they head towards turn 9. There goes Bartle through as well, so he will follow through Phillips. Cameron shuffled out wide, and he's got to be careful because Cranham's involved as well, and we know what pace Cranham's got.
Top two are starting to be caught by Jacob Ashcroft, the McLaren Junior, who has caught the back of then of Harrison Mackie and Lewis Goff. So free for the lead for now. Might get more into this yet with Melvin Kalustian. And then very impressively going here is Devin Hageland, the 14-year-old Dutch driver who's been a champion in karting in this country. And they turn their way through the S-bend. He's pulling clear of the likes of the R Racing car of Jesse Phillips, who has got past Henry Cameron, as you've described. Actually, Cameron's lost several positions, hasn't he? Because not just Harry Bartle's got past, but Riley Cranham too. So down to 9th position for Jesse Phillips and a gap back to the battle for 10th position. But we have at least a 3-car breakaway up front, headed by the 7-time winner this year, Lewis Goff, completes the second lap in front.
Yeah, just on that battle for 10th as well, which we're seeing the second group, let's say, Doherty and Loesch going at it. It's been great to watch in the background. It was originally Doherty who got past Loesch, and then Loesch got back past again. But they're all losing time to this front group, so they need to sort themselves out and chase this lead pack. Speaking of the lead pack, through is gone, Harrison Mackie back into the lead. Of course, it's expected that the lead will change several times during a Ginetta Junior race, so we're not going to go too crazy. But Ashcroft is still right there as well, and Kaluzdian. So the front four, almost like a peloton in a cycling race, trying to break away. You've got the local driver, Hagelin, just about hanging on as well. And I think, it's almost inevitable that Hagelin will close that gap, assuming these front four are going to battle. I think we're going to see some defensive driving now from Mackie in towards Mastersbocht in turn 9 as we head now through turn 7, which is Skivelak. And you can see Goff looking to the outside first. Then he's going to switch back to the inside. But Ashcroft may have just snuck a nose down the inside. And in fact, he has done so. So now it's Ashcroft down the inside of Goff. Watch Kaluzdian. Kaluzdian goes for the inside now. And he's going to be in a good position. But it's well defended so far from Goff. Happily running side by side with Ashcroft through this corner. And it looks like it's going to be Ashcroft who comes out in second. Kaluzdian now also looking to make that move on Goff. And straight away, Hagelin involved. Trying to get into the top 4 as well. And it is going to be Kaluzdian who's shuffled out wide here. Expect a little bit of gravel to throw up, or maybe some grass. And we've gone safety car, so something's happened in the background.
Vicky Farfus didn't come through the first sector, so I think it could be her. Bad day after a good day yesterday for the Brazilian, daughter of BMW superstar Augusto. But Harrison Mackie then, it's very strong through the Ari Leinerdijk box and is able to draw up alongside cars and therefore challenge into Tarzan. That's how he won the earlier race. He was quick through there, got the toe off Riley Cranham and beat him to the line. And I think that's a very similar way how he just passed Lewis Goff for the lead. So Harrison Mackie is very strong at the end of this Zandvoort lap, seemingly. And that helped his teammate Jacob Ashcroft take second place. So the two elite motorsport cars up front ahead of the R Racing cars of Lewis Goff and Melvin Kalushidin. But a safety car deployed, as John described to you, on lap 3 of the race. So it looks, again, we're not going to make that 10 laps that I predicted, either due to the early finish earlier or the safety cars in races 1 and 3. So can Harrison Mackie take a 4th win? Well, in these races, it's so unpredictable, isn't it? Whether you're in the lead or you really just need to be in the first 3 or 4 and you've got a real opportunity.
Exactly as you say, you just need to be in that lead pack come the last few laps and there's a chance. It reminds me a little bit of motorbike racing as well, especially in the likes of Moto2 and Moto3. As long as you're in that lead pack, you're in with a shout. And there you can see Vicky Farfus' parked up car on the left-hand side. Unfortunate for the Paradigm Competition driver. Did get her best result of the season, I'm pretty sure, in that first race. I think she finished 12th in that one. And it's not been a great end to the weekend for Vicky, but she's going to bounce back, of course. Very, very impressive CV on her. She speaks 5 different languages as well, I'm told, does Vicky Farfus. So a youngster who's already showing her capabilities across multiple different levels. And obviously, with racing running in the family, I think she's going to have a successful and long career ahead of her, I am sure. But obviously, this race is going to have to be forgotten and she'll have to move on because that car doesn't look like it's going anywhere at this moment.
No, that's right. Vicky, 15 years of age, is Brazilian, lives in Monaco, races in Britain predominantly. So you have to start stacking your languages up quite early on, don't you? But she's got, as you say, 5 languages is massively impressive, isn't it? She's part of the Iron Dames. You can see the Iron Dames livery on that car, although not racing in the WEC this year. The Iron Dames have expanded their horizons, really, and are looking after young drivers such as Vicky Farford, who's done some F1 Academy karting. So perhaps that's something in her future, moving up to that single-seater championship, perhaps in years to come. But what started to be such a good weekend here at Zandvoort turned a disappointing Sunday for her. But I'm sure she will look to bounce back as the season continues, particularly perhaps going to Donington Park later in the year. For so many of these drivers, that's where they started the season. That's where they had their first ever car race, and they get the opportunity to return to Donington Park on the same Grand Prix circuit later in the year. And that's something you don't really do that often, is it, John? You return to a circuit you've already raced at, and when you're so early in your career, that's where you can make really big leaps.
Of course, but then it's the same situation for many of the drivers as well. So these drivers will all feel a little bit more comfortable going back there again. And it does change the pecking order slightly, though, as well. And don't forget, these drivers do have plenty of testing and free practice sessions before each event as well to really get acquainted. And the talent level on display, some of the championships that have been won in the likes of karting, it's frightening, quite frankly, for a number of these drivers. So they know how to get up to speed very quickly, but it makes a huge difference when you can go back to a circuit for a second or third time and you feel comfortable straight out of the box. I know from my own racing experience, the first time you go anywhere, it does take a couple of sessions anyway to really feel settled. And there are certain things you can't really learn from sim racing or anything like that. You've got to just drive around the circuit as many times as possible. And without knowing it, it's almost like a subconscious improvement that you can make when you learn a track. You learn just the little bumps and changes on the road that you can't really practice anywhere else. And it does just give you a little edge occasionally.
While we're under safety car, there's an opportunity to have a look back at the start of the race. And on the first couple of rows, everyone made such an even start. It was further behind where we saw some changes. Jesse Phillips didn't make such a good start. Henry Cameron did, and particularly Devin Hagelin, the young Dutch racer, John, made great progress on the opening lap.
And I think it was Hagelin there. Yeah, I think that may have been Hagelin getting squeezed by Phillips into the pit wall, and thankfully it was just a door, so hopefully the mirror is still on, but we'll have to wait and see. Maybe Hagelin doesn't want to use his mirrors in this race, but lucky to get away with that one anyway. And not the first time we've seen that wall kissed or someone getting very close to it anyway throughout the weekend. But it was a great start, wasn't it, from Hagelin? And he continued that by making more progress on that opening lap, passing his teammate as well. So good stuff from the local driver. Of course, I think is Devin the only Dutch driver in the field today? I think he's not the only Dutch driver in the field this season, but I do believe Hagelin's the only Dutch driver in the Ginetta Junior field for this weekend's action. And he's put on a really good show, it has to be said. It's been one of his better weekends in the series. The rookie, the scholarship winner, of course, heading into this season. So if you win the scholarship, you've got a good career ahead of you, because you have to be very, very talented to win as competitive a scholarship as the Ginetta Junior Championship one. And Hagelin proving his stuff early in his racing career here.
Yeah, that's right. And he was very quick in one of the practice sessions on Friday. And let's see if he can end the weekend on a high. He's certainly got great hopes, I'm sure. Elite Motorsport, the Eddie Ives team, have been so successful in this championship, still running the livery that Eddie raced himself when he started competing in the 750 Motor Club over a decade ago. But he's built this fantastic racing team, starting off in Ginettas and broadening out into single-seaters and Ferrari GT3 car now as well. And Devon, part of that race team, which has got so much experience, a bit like being part of the R Racing team that have won plenty of titles in recent years in Ginetta Juniors, and they've got the likes of Lewis Goff and Melvin Kalustin, and being part of these fantastic teams in Ginetta at such an early stage of anyone's career. You're going to learn so much during the course of a season, and you might well learn a lot over the next 7.5 minutes, because we're about to go back racing here at Zandvoort. It is Harrison Mackie who is going to pace the restart. He's crawling his way up to turn 13, and then he accelerates, trying to break away, because the toe is going to be powerful all the way through Harry Leinerdijk and then down the start and finish straight before you break into Tarzan Corner, and it's going to give it the draft to everybody else, and they're all coming back towards him. So Jacob Ashcroft has got the overspeed on his teammate. He's got Lewis Goff going with him, though, So he can't sort of just sit behind him because he might be under threat from the championship leader, who has a look to the inside. Hageland's trying to go around the outside of Kalushidun, who's always strong on the brakes here, and that could allow Riley Cranham, who had made his way up into 6th position, to challenge. He's drawn up alongside Hageland as they go up towards turn 2, where Vicky Farfus pulled out of the race prior to the safety car, and through goes Riley Cranham. Remember, he was 9th on lap 1, he's up to 5th.
I was about to say, Hageland's done the smart thing here, falling back into line and not trying to go down the inside again of Phillips. Cranham it was, of course, as you said, ahead of him through Hugenholtz. But then having said that, Bartel sends it down the inside of Devon himself, and now he's under pressure as well. So that didn't work out for Bartel. We've seen that move attempted a few times. It's never quite worked. Meanwhile, you've got Goff down the inside of Ashcroft for P2. He's going to make that move stick. Superb stuff from our championship leader on Ashcroft. Moves up into 2nd place. Mackie still leads though, and look at them behind. Bartel on the inside now of Hagelin, and that's going to hurt both of them, I think, through the next corner. Expect the car 3rd in the queue there to make their moves, but all 3 of them are now going defensive on the inside, so it's bringing about, I don't know, 10, 12, 14 cars into this battle, who knows, but it is Bartel who's come out ahead. The only driver in the top 11 not to represent either R Racing or Elite Motorsport, so he's very much been the cat amongst the pigeons this weekend, and in the championship battle as well, but great lap from Bartel to come out on top.
It's such an intriguing corner, that, isn't it, at turn 8? There are so many different lines you can take, particularly in one of these Ginettas. I think we saw about 5 or 6 different approaches just on that particular battle pack. Through they come then. Lewis Goff up into 2nd, ahead of Jacob Ashcroft, and going after the race leader, Harrison Mackie. Bartel runs out wide, kicks up the dust in front of his rivals. I'm not sure if that was planned or not, but it's not been bad for him. He's still there in what is 6th. Ashcroft has run wide now, so this lap hasn't gone to plan. He's lost 2nd, and he's now very much under threat from Melvin Kalushidun as they turn their way up across the line to complete 6 laps of racing. We should get 9 again, like we have in the other 2 races, but Lewis Goff is going for the lead. He's got a great draft. Mackie didn't really defend early enough there, so Lewis Goff has got the inside line. He's got the race lead. Meanwhile, behind, Kalushidun up against the pit wall. We've seen that before. This time, though, he doesn't. He's not successful, and he's back behind Jacob Ashcroft again. So in 4th position is Kalushidun, and Riley Cranham joining in this. The driver who was 9th on lap 1 could get such a good result out of it because he's almost there in the lead pack.
Good to see those 2 best mates reacquainted there, heading into turn 1, but thankfully once again Kalushidun managed to survive. Not as successful with the overtake this time, and as much as he tried very hard. And look at this, something we've seen already. It's Mackie pushing Goff along at the front, so there's been a switch between the lead 2, heading onto this lap. And now this is something we've seen in all 3 races so far. It's Mackie and Goff trying to work together to break away, even though they are in different teams, of course. And their teammates are Ashcroft and Kalushidun, respectively, as well. So you've got 2 R Racing cars and 2 Elite Motorsport cars in the top 4. You've got a couple of pairs, and then in 5th position, still Riley Cranham. What great progress, as you say, he's been making. Up from P9, there's contact there between Kalushidun and Ashcroft, and that's going to cost Kalushidun a little bit. Did well not to spin there. But it means that Cranham's now going to have the inside line. He's going to sneak down there into turn 10. Kalushidun's going to have to leave him the space, I think. And there it is. So move made from Riley Cranham. How many overtakes has Riley put on this weekend? It's been mighty, mighty impressive from the youngster. And he moves up into P4. Next up, Ashcroft. And then it's the lead 2.
Couple of dramas on the most recent lap further down the order, both into the pit lane with problems with Samuel Del Gaudio and Max Murray. Max, who's not had the weekend I don't think that he had hoped for here at Zandvoort, so he's in the pit lane at the moment, but none of that is a worry for the leaders. Top 2 with this good gap now, so Harrison Mackie heading into the final 2 laps doesn't have to worry about looking in his mirrors. He can focus forwards, and he knows after what happened in the previous race that he can be in 2nd place heading through Harry Lynerdijk, and he could beat the leader by the flag. So is this all part of the plan, just to follow Lewis Goff? We're not seeing a challenge into Tarzan, are we? He knows that being in 2nd place, even at the last corner, could be beneficial. Meanwhile, a dive down the inside for 3rd position. Guess who? It's Riley Cranham. It's another place gained. He's up into 3rd, up onto the podium. Riley Cranham up ahead of Jacob Ashcroft.
It's been sensational this weekend, hasn't it, from Cranham? He's been up against it in many ways as well, obviously suffering that grid penalty with that crash in race 1, but wow, he's proven his pace here this time around. He's going to struggle now, though, because they are quite far behind the lead 2. These 3 need to work together now. Cranham's made it clear he wants to get to the front of the pack, but if Ashcroft And if Kaluzdian are smart here, they will work together for at least a lap, just to see if there's a chance they can catch the lead too. Might be a bit late now though, Josh. We're only going to have one extra lap after this, and indeed, Ashcroft thinks it's too late because he wants third place now. Down the inside, heading through Skivalak. Great move from Ashcroft. Bold, aggressive, but he's made it stick. Cranham's going to run him back to the inside. Watch for Kaluzdian, switching back underneath the two of these, but they've actually managed to carry good speed now, and Ashcroft pushes all the way to the outside Riley Cranham. And down the inside goes Kaluzdian. So there's the two-car pass we've talked about so many times this weekend. And it's back to P3. The Red Bull back to Kaluzdian.
Has brought the rest of them back into it, hasn't it? Bart and the gang as Cranham dive back up the inside of Ashcroft. They're not helping each other really here, are they? Keep trading positions. They've lost the third position to Kaluzdian, and they might lose more with Harry Bartle and Jesse Phillips, Devin Haglund and so on joining in on this battle, heading down towards the S-Bend. It's Kaluzdian then in third, ahead of Cranham. Bartle is fifth. It's really Ashcroft who's lost out terribly on this lap because he's also behind Bartle and Phillips, so he's down to seventh position. Is Jacob Ashcroft, who started this lap in P3. But for Melvin Kaluzdian, who's had a couple of podiums this year, he is in that third position. Has really allowed Goff and Mackie get away up front, though. So it's two drivers who go for the victory here. And are we going to see a race to the line here at Zandvoort circuit next time round? Well, they were separated by 1,000th that time. Harrison Mackie had his nose ahead. Lewis Goff has dropped down then into second place. But it absolutely shows you that you could be second through Harry Liner bike, and you could win it. Equally, though, you could do it from the first position. So where do you want to be in front? Well, at the moment, they're duking it out pretty hard, but it is Mackie ahead of Goff for now.
I think pretty hard is an understatement. They're going for it now, and it looked like Goff was trying to do the switchback and the dummy down the inside into turn one, but Mackie had him covered, and Goff changed his mind right at the last minute, which was probably the sensible thing. I don't think it's a bad idea to be in P2 right now for Lewis Goff, but it does look like a breakaway for these two now. By the way, just what you said before, Bartle and the Gang, that sounds like a great band name. Just wanted to put that one out there. But they're side by side for P3 as well, Kaluzdian and Cranham. Meanwhile, we don't know where to look because there's two great battles going on. Mackie still ahead of Goff. Is Kaluzdian still ahead of Cranham? Just about on the inside. Meanwhile, the front two go side by side, so Goff's going to try the switchback. Kaluzdian on the defensive behind these guys, but let's just focus on our leaders for a second. More defensive driving from Mackie. Goff goes all the way to the outside, heading through turn 9. He's going to try the switchback now for turn 10. He's going to stay to the outside here, allow Mackie to defend, and Goff's going to try the switchback here on the exit, heading towards the chicane. I think Kaluzdian's still stuck on the inside in the battle for third, and it's anyone's guess on what's happening behind. I think Cranham, Bartle, and everyone side by side, but it's still Mackie from Goff, Kaluzdian, and then Bartle and Cranham side by side for fourth.
So down towards turn 11, the S-Bend, and massively late the brakes. It's Mackie, he outbrakes himself, he's sideways, he's across the gravel, and he may well have just thrown it away. He's recovered in second place, but I don't think he's close enough to Lewis Goff. He was just that touch late on the brakes. He had a massive moment. He saved it really well, but not well enough to keep the lead. So Lewis Goff, putting the pressure on, has taken the lead of the motor race. Through Harry Liner Dyke they go. He's far enough ahead, surely, that the slipstream is not going to be powerful enough before the line, and it's an 8th race victory of the year, and it's an extended championship margin for Lewis Goff. Second goes the way of Harrison Mackie, and then for third position, well, Harry Bartle's going to try and get it on the line. He drives up alongside Melvin Kaluzdian, and looking to the timing screen, Kaluzdian held on by 22 thousandths of a second. That's the same gap we had for the race winning race one, the gap that we had for third position in this final race of the weekend. Ryan Cranham was 5th, Jesse Phillips was 6th, Devin Haglund was 7th, Jacob Ashcroft 8th, Henry Cameron was 9th, and Sebastian Luke 10th.
Yeah, it looked like basically everyone else finished 11th as well. Really, really close between the back half of the grid. And what a race you see. Half a second between Goff and Mackie in the end. I think that mistake from Mackie really just proved how hard he has been pushing to try and hold on to the lead. Sometimes these Ginetta Juniors don't look super fast relative to other cars, but all of these drivers are driving on the absolute limit of the vehicles underneath them. And I think that was just shown there from how late Harrison Mackie felt he needed to brake into the chicane on that final lap to try and remain ahead of Lewis Goff. Kaluzdian somehow managing to hang on to P3 in the Red Bull backed car. So it's been a really solid weekend from him. It's been a good season, of course, from Kaluzdian, but he'll be delighted with how Zandvoort has, in general, really been at the front and put on some great moves, especially down to the likes of Tarzan Bocht. Bartle, again, he was down earlier in this race, I've mentioned it before, kind of flying solo, not having any teammates to work with in that top section. And of course, that affects things like car setup and development as well. Every other team at the front here has got many different drivers to lean on for different setup tips and for driving advice and data, whereas Bartel's doing it all on his own. So great effort to race his way up to P4 and remain very much in that championship hunt, maybe just slightly too far behind Goff at this stage with only 2 or 3 rounds to go. We have Phillips in 6th, Hagel in 7th, Ashcroft 8th, Cameron 9th, and Lush 10th in that race. So they continued their battle just outside of the top 10 as well between these drivers as we now head back into the pits. And wow, take a breath, Josh. That was phenomenal stuff, as we've come to expect. And that race passed very, very quickly indeed.
Yeah, great racing from the Ginetta Junior Championship. Here are the race results. Lewis Goff took the victory after that moment for Harrison Mackie on the final lap. Third place went to Melvin Calusidon with Harry Bartle in 4th. Riley Cranham was 5th and Jesse Phillips 6th. Devin Hagland took 7th with Jacob Ashcroft 8th. Henry Cameron was 9th and Sebastian Luch completed the top 10 ahead of Ian Daniskia and Daniel Oliver. Josh Watts came home in 13th place ahead of Noah Young. Bailey Dougherty was 15th. Vlad Tomenchuk was 16th. Addison Smith 17th ahead of Andrew Robinson, Ethan Brass, Dominic Darling, and a couple of drivers had to make pit visits. Did get home, Samuel Gaudio and Max Murray, but much delayed. They completed the 22 finishers. But the Ginetta Junior Championship, it has become a staple of British motorsport, and hopefully the fans here at Zandvoort have just learnt what everyone's been talking about in the UK about this championship. The racing is phenomenal. The young drivers have fantastic driving standards and create some of the best racing we have in this century.
Yeah, I've been saying it for decades. It's such a good championship to learn your craft. And just not only that, it's actually the entertainment as well for the spectators. It truly is phenomenal to watch. And yeah, the Ginetta Juniors, obviously the youngsters in these cars are a lot younger than many of the other championships we see on a regular basis. But funnily enough, we don't see as many penalties, I think, in Ginetta Juniors as we maybe see in other championships. I think they managed to keep it remarkably clean most of the time. Of course, there's always going to be the odd moment where things are stretched, but they really are exemplary in their performances. And we see it time and time again. Just because you're young and just because you're inexperienced doesn't mean you don't know how to race brilliantly and how to just put together a mature campaign. So excellent stuff all around.
Absolutely. Been great to be here with you, John, for this Zandvoort away weekend for the Ginetta Junior Championship powered by Sunoco Fuels. 3 events to go, all live here on GT World. Heading to Snetterton in August, and then Donington Park and Brands Hatch, the Grand Prix circuit, will be the season finale. And that's all to look forward to in the 2026 season. We will speak to you again soon.